Hello everyone, Johnny Mind here. Today we continue to study Japanese with Okay, it seemed that there was an issue, but there wasn't. So as I was saying, we continue to study Japanese with Super Mario Bros. And we'll continue in particular studying hiragana. Last time we've seen the hiragana for aiueo, kakiku keko, and of course also the dakuten, the ones you can obtain by adding the dakuten, so gagigu gego. And we'll continue from there. So let's start Super Mario Bros. Okay. Oops. I have to change the user. So I opened it with my personal one. It's telling me that they're in the middle of selling the Famicom controllers, which funny enough I already have since I got the special edition of the NES Championship, the Japanese special edition. But I'll just stick to Joy-Con for now. Okay, let's load our save and go back to World 3.1. Our first quote-unquote nighttime stage. Oops. We'll continue despite that mistake. Let's see. Oop. Nope. Okay, let's get rid of the Hammer Bros. Can. Don't trust them. Okay, Toad Spring. Yeah, little too confident there. Let's get rid of the Paratroopa. And make our back jump. 2000, not bad. Okay. Let's open our usual Wiktionary pages. Okay. So, as I said before, we've seen aiueo, kakiku keko, and so now we start with the sagyo, the sa column, and so with sa. sa. As you might have already noticed, if you remember the hiragana we've seen last time, sa is quite similar to ki. And so it's practically identical, except that it has one less horizontal stroke. We write it in the same way, from the left to the right, then from the top to the bottom. Right, top, bottom. The usual rules to write hiragana, but also kana in general, and also kanji. As you can see here, this is the more common style, which separates this part. So the bottom one is on its own, so left to right, top, bottom, and then again left to right, but it starts slightly above, makes this curve. So yes, it's be careful to not confuse it with ki. Of course, it will take some time to avoid to not make mistakes, but slowly but surely you'll be able to not confuse them. So we've seen sa. Let's see at least a couple of words with sa. For example, asa. You can see high, low, asa. And yes, it means morning, also breakfast, but more because it's an abbreviation than anything else. Usually means simply morning, asa. Now quite a similar word, except that it starts with a consonant. Casa. Also high-low, so accent doesn't help you in this case. And it's umbrella or also parasol. There's no... you can use the same word for both. Casa. Okay. So with that, we of course just like for the kagyo, we can also we can add dakuten also here to have the syllable za. More often than not, usually written za. But if you notice the pronunciation, here it says za. It can also be za without the affrication, but don't mind that. You can pronounce it za without the issues. But if you notice, some Japanese pronounce it as za, that's why. And so, yeah, it's as usual. We write it the same way as sa, top left, from the left to the right, top bottom, and then the dakuten, comma and comma. The more common style, left right, top bottom, and we have the separation, so again left right starting above, and so with the curve, and then the commas. That is the Dakuten. As for words with let's see what this is a trick for the Jisho. We are looking for words that have something before za, maybe also something after, because I doubt we find much otherwise. Yeah, this is what I was thinking, but these are, yeah, we can see, this is a word that we can see is slightly complex, but at least it has all hiragana we've already studied. Keizai, you can see high, and then all low, because the accent falls after the ke. Keizai, economy, economics, finance. So yes, economy in all its in various meanings. Keizai. Okay, with that we can go back to Super Mario Bros. Word 32. Yet another overworld stage. Yeah, too bad, but we'll continue. Using the power-up wasn't the best idea. Nothing. Notice that some sprite flickering. That's the NES / Famicom for you. Okay. Let's go back to our hiragana. Shi. Just like ki. Also here, the following E modifies the previous consonant. But in this case, the difference, there's also palatalization, but it's more different, and we have, as you can see in the pronunciation, a special symbol instead of a E, of a small Y above on the top right of the consonant. And often you can see it transcribed as shi, shi, because yes, it's a kind of a sh sound. To be precise, it's slightly closer to the palate, because again, these are it's yet another palatalized consonant, so it's more sh than sh, and so shi. But you can pronounce it as your usual she, sh as in she, and it will be fine. Just if you hear it pronounced by Japanese and it sounds slightly different, you know why. And so yes, it's quite simple. It's a single stroke that starts above, goes down, top to bottom, and then left to right, all in a single stroke. As you can see also here, C. And of course, as usual, we can also add the dakuten, and so have again top to bottom, left to right, all in a single stroke, and the commas, the dakuten, is also shown here. Yes, it can be both G and G. I'd say just pronounce it as G and you'll be fine. Keep in mind that you can hear both. Okay, let's see some words with... Now we can see this word that we already have here. Zashi. As you can see, low, high, high, no fall after the last one, so actually an unaccented word. The usual rule that if the first is low, then the second is high, and the same is true in the other sense. The first is high, the second one is low, as we've seen with the previous words. So yes, zashi, a magazine, journal, periodical. Zashi. Let's see other words. For example, there are several words actually with his. We see kashi, which means sweets, generic sweets. Keep in mind that more often than not you'll find it with the prefix O, which makes it more elegant. Honorific, polite, humble prefix. We'll see that more in detail in the future. But the accent, even in that case, is still on the ka. That might not always be the case, but luckily in this case it is for kashi, okashi, okashi. We also have another word that is also kashi. In this case, also high-low accent. And yes, it's lyrics of a song. Then there are other ones, but let's keep it at that for now. As a reminder, what we have said last time, the importance of short and long vowels, and so why it's important to not make vowels longer because of stress, as it might happen for speakers of stressed languages, because the word okashi, che abbiamo visto, which we have seen, if we add another I, another E, it becomes okashi. In this case, the accent moves, luckily, in addition to the additional E. Okashi, because it becomes, with the additional E, becomes a true adjective, as we have seen also last time. And okashi means funny, as in both amusing, but more often than not, as in the strange, odd meaning sense. We can see for the G, let's see. Well, the word we can see G, which even on its own can mean character, especially kanji. The G in kanji is the same one. As you can see, high with a fall, so actually accented. But also wanted to show this one. This one is quite important. Never mind the first additional reading of the character. G means hour in the sense of o'clock. When we learn the numbers, you can put a number before G and you have the hour. For example, this stream for me started at Kuji, 9 o'clock p.m. in this case. Okay. Let's say we can move on. We can go back to Super Mario Bros. Word 3-3. Just like the first one, we are on 3 tops. And it's still obviously night time. Just like for the rest of this world. Yeah, that wasn't smart, but luckily we can... No, we can't do it without rewinding. Let's try it again, and this time do it properly. Okay. Catch big jump. Avoid the Koopas and Paratroopas. Should I say the other order, the Paratroopa and the Koopas? And grab the flag, all as usual. Some good old fireworks. Let's pause and go back to our hiragana. Now we see su. Again, left to right, top to bottom, but in this case by doing a loop in the middle. Left to right, top to bottom with a loop. As you can see also here, it's not as clear, but that's how it works. Left to right, top to bottom, but doing a loop in the middle. Su. then we can also, of course, add the dakuten to have z, z, z. Doesn't matter, affricate or fricative. Of course, left to right, top to bottom, the circle with the loop in the middle, left to right, top to bottom, loop in the middle, and of course the dakuten at last, the commas. You can see also here, to right, top to bottom, loop in the middle, and the commas, the dakuten. Okay. With su, we have we actually have a good amount of word potentially. Let's see, for example, kasu. Kasu, as you see, it's low high, so actually unaccented, an unaccented verb, which means to land. Also in the sense of to rent out, to hire out. Another word is isu. Again, unaccented, but this is a noun, unlike the previous one, which was a verb. And this is the word for chair. Isu. Isu. With zu, let's see. Let's see what we can find. No, too early, because we haven't seen the other. This one, for example, aizu. Aizu. High, low, low, so accented on the first one. And yes, it means sign, as in a signal, a cue. Okay. We can go back to Mario Bros. And do word 3-4. Oops, distracted, but lucky it's not the end. That wasn't smart at all. Despite my name. Actually, we don't necessarily have to defeat Koopa Bowser with the fireballs this time, as I've already shown what happens last time. So yeah, we finished another world. We can go back to our hiragana. And since we have finished the word, we'll see two instead of one. Of course, also with the dakuten combination, and so actually 4. First and foremost, we have se. Left to right. Then, in this case, we start the second stroke is this one, most likely because well, it's actually because of we'll see it when we see the katakana for this same syllable, but in this case we could say that it's because it doesn't go as low as the next one, but as usual top to bottom, and then top to bottom, left to right, top to bottom, bottom. And yeah, as you can see here, this is the order: to right, top to bottom, as in this particular stroke, and then the other one, top to bottom with the curve. Of course, we can add duck 10, and so I have Z, same as before, left to right, top to bottom, the curve, the two commas, to right, top to bottom with the curve, two commas, as shown also here. And then we have the hiragana for so, which is actually a single stroke from the top. You have to follow without ever removing, if you were writing it with a brush, or even, of course, a pencil or a pen, never lift it. And so go from left to right, the slanted one, left to right, and then go back with this curve. You can see it even better here with the arrows. As usual, let's add the Taku 10 and have Zo. Same as before, left to right, slanted, left to right, the curve, Taku 10, comma, comma. And as seen here, again, this is a single stroke, and then we add the two commas, the Daku 10. As for words, let's see first and foremost this one. Not this one. There are actually various but the one that interests us is not even this one, because this is part of the conjugation. This is the one. You might remember that we've already seen a with a double a, as in, or better, a with high-low, which is a case. This is a case of difference according to the accent. High-low is still the exclamation, except that it's longer. The one that interests us in this case is a, low-high, which means like that. Why does it interest us? Because so is the same, but for a different distance between the speaker and the listener. There's also this other use, but that's more advanced. We'll see it later. For now, it's important that a is something which is that way, like that way, distant from both the speaker and listener, while so, again, low, high, and as something that is in that way, and that's distant from the speaker but close to the listener. There are three distances in Japanese, unlike English, which has usually only close to the close to the speaker, far from the speaker, this, that, these, those. In Japanese, the distance matters. There are three, and it all depends, and it depends on the distance from both the speaker and the listener. In this case, close to the far from the speaker and close to the listener. So we see it better when we see the words that mean the adjectives, the demonstratives. That is the words this pen, that person. But we'll see it when the time comes. As for another word with instead zo, we have, for example, zo, high, low, and long, because yes, even though it's written as zo u, the rule is that when u follows a syllable with o, it actually it actually signals a longer o. It's written this way because of the evolution of the Japanese language, but don't mind that for now. Just remember ou, the combination ou, doesn't matter if there's a consonant before the o or not, ou, double o. Double o in the sense of long o, longer Japanese o. So in this case, zo, o, zo. And yes, it means elephant. Of course, there are other words, but they don't interest us for now. Oops, we have we'll see now some words with se and ze, since I skipped them before. For example, we can see, and so we can see the other rule of long vowels written in a different way than what you might expect. There are other ones, but this is the one that interests us. In this case, gakuse, gakuse, and yes, low. Everything else high because it's actually unaccented. And there are two peculiarities in this case. First and foremost, what we have already seen if we have E or U between unvoiced consonants, you barely hear it, or not even hear it at all. So in this case, gakse. And then the other rule, similar to what we have just seen for O and U, O-U equals long O. For most speakers, there are some who still keep it as written, so AE, with maybe just a somewhat shorter E, but that's a detail. But most standard speakers now pronounce it as double, long E. So an AE combination, doesn't matter again if there's a consonant before it or not, becomes long E, gakse, gakse. Okay. And then we can see this word, unfortunately, but it's important to know it. Ze, again, combination of E plus E, so double E, high, low in this case. Ze means tax. Okay, now that we've seen all these hiragana syllables, we can go back to Mario Bros. And start word 4-1. This is a word I know quite well because I've seen it a lot even when I played on my own. Even as a kid, as soon as I learned the word pipe skip, I tended to skip the previous levels. Our good old pal Lakitu. Or however you pronounce it in English. A really good aspect of Japanese is that whenever it's written, the pronunciation in kana is given, you know exactly how it's pronounced, apart from the accent. Okay, let's stop. Unlike English. Okay. So we have finished the sagyo, the sa column. Normally gyo, again, as mentioned last time, usually means row, in this case column, because of how hiragana is usually written in a table. You can see it even. No, unfortunately it isn't here, so never mind. Okay. So yes, we have finished the sagyo. Let's move on to the tagyo. we have ta. We start as usual, left to right, top to bottom, in this case slanted, left to right, with this slight additional part, and then top to bottom, but and left to right with a curve. Left to right, top to bottom slanted, left to right, top to bottom, left to right, as a single stroke with the curve. As you might have noticed, this part is like a small ko. So yes, be careful not to confuse it, but at the same time, it's easy. It's easier to write ta thanks to it. So there's that. As you can see here, there's not the additional slight part here when you write it in a simpler font, in a simpler manner. Okay, left to right, top bottom slanted, and then our ko. So ta, of course, we can add the duck 10, and so I have da, again, left to right, top to bottom, left to right, top to bottom, left to right, slanted as a single stroke. So ta, and then the two commas, the duck 10. You can see it again here. Okay. As for words with it, with oops, started with wanted to already show that, but let's go in order this time. We can see, for example, this word, quite important. Well, also this one, it's nice, shita. Again, low, high, with the fall of the accent, so actually accented on the last one. Shita, shita. Again, the E is you can barely hear it, if at all. Which means tongue, as in the body part, not the language. And then we have sta without the accent this time, low, high, but without the fall, so unaccented. And this is the more important word because it means below, down, bottom, beneath, and so on. So down, the direction down, sta. We haven't seen it, I don't think we have seen it last time, but we'll see it right now, since it's the opposite. It is also quite an important word. Ue, also unaccented, low, high, no fall. Ue means above, over, up, top, and so on. So up, the direction up. As you can see, if you look at the kanji, they are so-called ideograms in this case, because they show the concept below in this case, and the other one above. But we'll see them again when they show up, when we start actually seeing them in games and so on. Okay. And then wanted to at least show one word for da. And funnily enough, it's da as is. It's quite important because it's the form of the verb to be. In plain speech, we'll see what that means when the time comes. But if you add da to a noun, you say that something is that noun. Or also, in the case of the example, it's used also for so-called false adjectives, but we'll see those later. But yes, this is one of the forms of the copula, the verb to be in Japanese. So quite an important word. Okay. Let's go back to Super Mario Bros. For 2. And we are going underground in this case, not underwater. Also another level I know quite well, also by personal experience, for the same reason, because it's part of the skip sequence to World 8. For those who don't know, here is a vine that brings you to... Yeah, I can't take it anymore anyway, but we didn't want to in this case. But yes, if you took it, it would take you to the warp zone that brings you to World 8. Okay, let's proceed. So funny enough, this part of the level I don't see that often because of that. Oops. Okay. Buzzy Beetle. Good old Koopas. Phew, barely avoided the piranha plant. And so, with a good old nope, failed the frag jump. Doesn't matter. Okay. Let's go back to our hiragana. This time we see chi. Again, since the following vowel is e, it becomes palatalized, but in this case it changes quite a lot because instead of t we have an affricate ch. Chi. Again, we can you can pronounce it as the one in choose and so on. In Japanese, it's actually slightly different because it's further back in the mouth. Chi. Okay, let's see how you write it. First stroke left to right as usual, then top to bottom as one single stroke. Left to right, top to bottom slanted, and then this big curve, chi. So you can see it here again. First stroke left to right, and then everything else from top to bottom. In this case, we can add the dakuten to have again the sound G, G. That's because at first this and the other sound for the Shi with dakuten were different. The one for Shi with dakuten was Ji. This one was Ji. But then they merged together. And nowadays you can find this one only in certain words, which we'll see in a moment. But yes, you can still find it when writing in hiragana. So it's important to know it exists. Again, let's write it. We write it in the same way as chi, left to right, top to bottom as a single stroke, and then the commas, the dakuten. As you can see here, to right, single stroke, and the commas. Okay. Let's first and foremost see this word. Yeah, we have also this one, which means milk, but also more often breast, chichi. But the one you see more often, and a much more important one to know from the start is chichi. Same pronunciation, low, high, with the falling pitch, same as here. Funnily enough, considering that it's kind of the opposite. And this one means father. Here it says a humble language. We won't talk about that because it's quite complex. As a rule, know that you usually use this word for father because there are other ones. When you speak of your own father, you're telling someone else that your father did something and so on. And then I can't actually show, I think, let's see if there is, because the word that I was thinking for G, yes, no, not yet. Yeah, unfortunately we can't see it now because there are, no, we can see it in this. I was forgetting about this one. And so we can see also another important mark, even though it isn't hiragana. It's quite important to know. Chiji. Chiji. High-low. As you can see in the hiragana pronunciation, it's written as chi, and then chi with the dakuten, because it's actually a repetition of the same word. Thousands. And so, for example, literally thousand and thousand, so thousands, and by extension, great number of variety. And yes, what I wanted to mention, since we are already seeing it, it's this mark, which is a kanji repetition mark. We'll see it again when it comes up when we study kanji. We study words or better, we'll see in games and so on words with it, but just so you know, if you see this mark, it means that the previous kanji is repeated, like in this case, the one for 1,000 is repeated, and so chi, ji. Okay. I'd say we can take a break now. Again, as usual, at most 5 minutes. And so we'll be back. We'll be back then. Let's remove the browser window. Okay. See you in 5 minutes. And we're back. Let's start with word 43. We're on top of mushrooms, and of course I immediately die because let's wait for those koopas to move. Oops. Then consider that yes, the side is blocks you. Okay. Yeah, no. Ooh. Wow. Barely avoided death there. And of course now still died. Let's do it like this. It was a little too high. Okay. Yeah, these scales can be quite tricky. Okay. Let's do the jump. And nice. Okay. Let's go back to our hiragana. Okay. You see this one, it's tsu. This is particular because it's affricate, even though the following vowel is u. It's an exception, and it's like that. So it's not tu, but tsu, tsu. Quite simple because it's a single stroke from here, left to right, to the curve, and you're done. The curve is practically the similar to the part we've already seen in C, but only the bottom part. Before moving to the words, you can see, yes, it showed before. You might notice that here it's smaller, but what I wanted to explain after. This is the big one, the regular one, but it can also be written smaller. For a tsu, as you can see here, there's a slight difference with the vowel, but for now keep it just as tsu. So yes, we can see here with the arrows the stroke order. It's a single stroke with the curve. But yes, there's also, it can also be written smaller, and so it goes in the bottom left corner of the square in which each hiragana, katakana, kanji stays. And when written smaller, it means that the following consonant is doubled. Unfortunately, that's not easy for English speakers because, and also in several other languages, because you don't have double consonants. But unlike in Italian, lucky me that in this case, but what could help you start doing it is the other usage of the small tsu, that is like an interruption of a previous vowel, like the one we've seen in a. Oops. In a, as in the short exclamation. Can be written like this, and it would be like ah, as if it immediately stopped, it were interrupted. So even when you have to double the consonant, you can think of it kind of like that way, in the sense that to double the consonant, you have to stop while starting pronouncing it, keep it, and then release it. Now we'll see it with some examples, what I mean. For example, well, first and foremost, let's start. Let's go back a little, because let's not forget that tsu, just like everything else, we can add the dakuten, and so we get zu, zu. Same as for chi, ji. It used to be different compared to zu from su, but nowadays they are the same. Again, this one was zu, the other one was zu. Now they're the same, and you can find it only in words with repetition. Okay. Wanted to say that before moving on, also because you can see a word that way, which is an example of both tsu and zu. Tsuzuku, 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 and low, high, high, so unaccented because it's a verb, and it's intransitive, so you don't use it with the object particle, and it means to continue, as in something continues, lasts, goes on, and etc. As you can see, tsu, zu, ku, because it's actually the second zu is a repetition of the first tsu, because of the origin of the word. Tsuzuku. Yes, let's go back to our small tsu as to double the consonant. For example, in the word gakko, low, high, high, the rest high because it's unaccented. Gakko. Yes, so the small tsu doubles the following k of ko, and you can try to pronounce it as if you wanted to you start the k but keep it and then release it. Gakko. In my mouth, I already was in the position of the K when you didn't hear me, but then release it. Gakko. And again, as we have seen before, O followed by U, double O. Gakko. Okay, let's say we can go back to Mario Bros. Super Mario Bros. To be precise, because... And World 4-4. A new castle. Starting to get more complex. And I think this might be where where the false path start. Now, if I recall correctly, maybe it's this one, not the one I took, because of course I didn't think it enough. Yep, it was this one. Oops. Oh well. It's important that we defeated Bowser. Or should I say fake Bowser, as we have seen. Okay. Let's stop. Go back to our hiragana. Since we have finished the word, we'll see slightly more. We see 2, actually 4 if you count the Dakuten variants. We have te, easy, left to right, and then the curve, all as a single stroke, left to right curve, as shown also here by the arrows. Te, and then we have the Dakuten variant, and so the left to right curve, all as a single stroke, and the commas, left to right single curve as a single stroke, the commas, again shown also by the arrows here. Then we have to, we started with this one, top to bottom. We stop here, because then we start from here with the curve. Top to bottom, but with the curve. You can see it also here with the arrows. Of course, there's also we can add the Dakuten to have do. Again, top to bottom, we stop here, top to bottom with the curve, and then the commas, the Dakuten, top to bottom with the curve, commas, as shown also by the arrows here in order. Okay. Let's see some words. Te, with the false, so actually accented. Hand, usually just hand, and then of course various meanings derive from there, but fundamental meaning is hand, te. Then for de, we can see this one. Here it says that it's accented, but it's more complex than that because it's actually a particle. We'll see that more in detail when the time comes. But yes, it's a particle, and quite an important one, because it can mean at in, as in the location of an action, but only when the action is a verb that means action, that doesn't mean staying, because for verbs that have a meaning of staying, there's a different one. At when with time, but that's not common, ignore it for now. So at in, location of action for most verbs, and then by with, the means of action. By using, if I wanted to say by hand, we would say tede, with the word we have just seen. Or for example, for the at in meaning, the location, we have seen before the word kakko. If I'm saying that I'm doing something at school, I will say kakko de, and then the verb. Okay, now let's see also this word, which is quite important. Des. Here it doesn't even show the accent, but it usually is desu. But as you might have noticed, I stopped pronounce it like as if it were des, without the u at the end, because that's another rule. When a word ends with I or U, more often than not, they fall, especially for words like this one, which are, this is again the copula, but in a polite language. And so yes, it's even more important to know to start, because you want, of course, you want to know both as soon as possible, because you might find both while playing games, because and if you have also seen anime, you know that they do not speak in polite language as often as you should. But yes, if you when you speak or you hear Japanese people speaking in polite contexts, you want to use polite language, and so yes, this is the copula that you'll hear the most, and you have to use the most, des. For example, you could use it for if you are a student, you can say gakusei desu, gakusei desu. Okay. let's see. To. To. As in without the accent, high but without the fall. Door, especially in the Japanese style, because if you want to say door as in ours, Western ones, you use the word door in English, but with a different, the Japanese pronunciation of door, doa. But we'll see it when the time comes, when we learn katakana. And also, of course, then by extension, also shutter and so on, but that doesn't matter for now. What I wanted to show you, much more important, is this particle, to. It can be used also for the conjugation, as in if-when, but we'll see that later. For now, the more important uses are, as in the conjunction and when used with two nouns. You can't use it for verbs, because there's another way to express that meaning when it comes to verbs and also adjectives and so on. This is strictly for nouns. For example, well, let's it's actually because it's related to the next meaning, which is with. And so if we put a subject before it, a noun before it, we can say with that something, as in with that person. For example, with the student, with a student, gakusei to. And yes, if we had we had two or more nouns to link, we could use it in the sense of and. And then there's also the use for to quote, but we'll see that later. Another time. Okay, now for do. For do, we'll see. Well, there are also other words. For example, do, as in copper, but also bronze as an abbreviation for bronze metal. But that's not the one that interests us the most now. It's this one. Don't mind the first reading, because that's for another time. Well, we can see it, but in a moment. What matters now is do, u as usual. So so long o, high low, do. And it's the question word how, in what way. As you might have guessed by the translation, and also because we have again something, one syllable, and then u. This is the question word related to so, a, I is an exception, but it's this related to those. And this one is the question word. And then we have also ko, low, high, as in actually unaccented. In this way, and yes, this is what the one for close to both the speaker, close to the speaker, and so usually and so translated as in this way. So in that way, because it's close to the listener. In that way, distant from both the speaker and the listener. And then the question word, do, how, in what way. Yes, then we have this other word for the same kanji, ikaga, which also means how, in what way. It's a more a politer word for that, and we'll see it when the time comes. But for now, the fundamental one is that do, in what way, and again is linked to the other words for this, that, way, and so on, that we have already seen. Okay, we can stop here with the sorry, that because disconnected. We can go back to Mario Bros. And start World 5. Oof. Sprite flickering. Nice, Starman as called in English. I think our first one, because I didn't get it previous times. Let's make that. Nope. No jump for us. Okay, let's stop. And let's go back to our hiragana. And so, yes, we have finished the tagyo, and so we begin the nagyo. Na. Again, left to right, top to bottom slanted, and then this as a single stroke. Left to right, top to bottom slanted, top to bottom, this way with the curve. Usually it's actually divided, and so arguably easier. The last stroke into two. So we have left to right, top to bottom slanted, this comma, and then top to bottom with the curve. Na. In this case, we can't add the dakuten because the reason is that there's no voiced vowel for N, because N is actually already voiced. That's the reason. So we have na. Here there are various meanings, but for example, we will ignore them for now, except for not sure if it even shows here. Nope. But yes, this is a quite important particle, as it can be used with the so-called false adjectives. And so nouns that have the meaning of an adjective, and that you have to add na to them to put them before a noun. For example, let's see. No, that one can't be done yet. Let's see an example. Well, we'll eventually see it because all the words that came to mind require other hiragana, so it's too early. We'll see it later then. Na can also be a word on its own with this kanji, but of course we won't focus on that for now. And an accented word. And yes, it can mean name, given name, even though for the given name usually there's a compound, which we'll see another time. But yes, on its own, na can mean name, given name, and so also title and other extended meanings. Okay, let's go back to Super Mario Bros. World Fight 2. Oh boy. A Hammer Bros here in the wild. Not on blocks. Like this one. It was quite much easier to avoid and in my case also defeat. Yeah, let's avoid the bullet bill. Not deal with the Buzzy Beetles. Jump, jump, jump. Yeah, I quite need the practice because of a certain something that we'll see later when the time comes after these lessons. Nice, at the top of the flagpole. A firework even. Let's stop. By the way, you might have noticed here the first option that has tsu, zu, ke, and then hiragana that we haven't seen yet. This is tsuzukeru. Tsuzukeru, which is the transitive form for the verb to continue. We have seen tsuzuku, the intransitive one. And so, yeah, in this case, you continue the game. And so it's the transitive one, tsuzukeru. But we'll see it again other times. Just wanted to mention it since it's there. Okay. Let's move on to ni. Again, since we have a following e, the consonant is modified, is palatalized, and so it isn't actually n, but more like ni. Like the ny in, if you know Spanish, like in niño, niña. We have it also in Italian. Slightly different compared to those because it's again more closer to the palate. But yeah, in this case, if you can't pronounce until you can pronounce it, just say ni with a regular n. But you notice that Japanese pronounce it this way instead, ni. And so we can see some words. The most important of them, well, also quite important, but not the one I wanted to show now. Never mind all the other readings. Ni, accented, is one of the ways to say the number 2. The word for 1 is ichi. I'll show it just for... Don't mind that one. Ichi. So accented on the last one. But in this case, since it's an E at the end after, it can be not pronounced, and you might hear it's instead, especially when people count in countdowns and so on. Ichi or it's in some cases, ni. And unfortunately, we have to stop there when it comes to numbers because we don't know the hiragana for the other ones now. But what I wanted to show is ni as in the particle. This is the particle that I was mentioning for at place time, but with verbs of staying. For example, the only example I can think of with the words we already know, with the hiragana we already know, is with the verb live, sumu. We can't more often than not conjugate, so we can exactly say it the way it is usually, but it would be ni plus the ni sumu, live at. At, in, on, and so on. Also as for time, to say that I started the stream at 9 o'clock, I would have said kujini, and then the verb, which we can see yet. Then there are other meanings, but more complex. The more for also, and so purpose. But for now, the most important ones are at with verbs of staying, in, at, in, and so on, as for time, and also to, toward, as in a direction. So if we add the word, which I don't think we have seen last time, even though we have already seen the hiragana for them, for it, iku. Iku means to go, and then several other words, several other meanings related to it. Also yuku as a variant, but usually we can use iku. And so with the particle ni, we can say go to a place. For example, with the one we've already seen, if we want to say go to school, gakko ni iku. And last but not least, for ni, you can see the word nani, quite famous. If you have ever watched anime and so on, you have definitely heard it before. It's the word for what? Nani. Okay. Let's go back to Super Mario Bros. Let's continue the game. Suzukeru. Word 5-3. Oops. Yeah, we're back on the three tops, and I die obviously in the stupidest way, avoiding the bullet piece, but being hit by the Goomba, of course. Let's wait, patience. What I didn't have there. Okay, careful. Okay. Wow, the gap. The gap of all things. Okay. And we're done with the level. Some good old fireworks. Okay. Okay, sorry. Drink some water. Okay, we see now the hiragana for nu. And as usual, left to right, but this top to bottom stroke first, then the other one, top to bottom, then the curve, the circle, and we stop here. So yes, the second one is quite a long stroke and a single one. Top to bottom, curve, curve, circle. As you can see, also here, so top to bottom, and then this big old stroke, a single one. As for the word, we have shinu. What I ended up doing more often than I'm willing to admit in Super Mario Bros. To die. Then, for example, also... nope, that's for later. Let's see what finds. Of course, now it will find again Shinu, most likely, first and foremost. Ah, yes, also this one, for example. Well, let's see these two. Kinu, silk, kinu, but even more so, the word for inu, low, high with the falling accent, so it's actually accented. And yes, this is the word for dog in Japanese. We can see, now that we've seen the word for dog, we can also see that if we add ko before it, ko, which on its own would mean child, unaccented, child, usually child, and then also the extended meanings, but if we add it before inu as a prefix, we get koinu. Becomes unaccented in this case, so be careful. Koinu, puppy, a small dog, literally a child dog. Okay, we can go back. And yes, we'll, at this point, even if I slightly go, we should be able to finish this row. Okay, oop. Sorry. Okay. 4, 5, 4. Oops. Nope. Let's go back to the start, which is better. Yeah, when you rush, then mistakes are inevitable. Let's see. This was the right way. I think it wasn't a maze. Just choose which path you want to take to avoid the flames. Yeah, no. Let's go back here. Slowly, surely. Avoid everything except for that. Okay, okay. Yeah, this one isn't that easy. Okay. Yeah, we managed. Okay, so we've ended World 5-4. Let's save. Okay. Because we're ending after this one. After this hiragana. Okay. Ne. Oops. Yeah, this one is slightly more complex. First we go from top to bottom here. Don't mind this additional part. Usually you don't do it. Then from here, left to right, then the slanted. Then you go up here with the curve, the circle at bottom, and the end. Top to bottom, left to right, slanted, curve, circle. So yes, after the top to bottom, initial top to bottom stroke, everything else is a single stroke, as you can see here. Ne, and then we have no. We start here, go down, the curve, and we get here. So yes, it's a single stroke, all curves. As you can see, also, nope, not the image. No, don't know why it shows that there. Apparently there isn't the stroke order, but that's most likely because it's a single stroke. So yes, just keep in mind that you start in the middle and then continue. Okay, let's see a couple of words. We have ne as a word, in the sense of a noun. We have ne accented, root of a plant, and then of course root in all other extended meanings. But the most important one is ne, the particle, a sentence found at the end of sentences, and means right, isn't it? Doesn't it? And yes, it's used as a request for confirmation or agreement. And also other uses, but that's the fundamental one. Then there are other words, but they don't matter now. Then, last but not least, no, another particle, quite an important one because it's the possessive one. So if we wanted to say, for example, the student's dog, we would say 学生の犬 Then also other uses, but those we'll see later. The most important one is the particle for the possessive. And so yeah, it's 11 o'clock here. So I'd say we can stop here. Today we have seen we've continued hiragana and also the basics of Japanese. In particular, we saw the sagyo, sashi, su, se, so, and of course the dakuten one, za, ji, zu, ze, zo. Tagyo, tachi, tsu, te, to, also with the dakuten, and so da, ji, zu, ze, da, ji, zu, de, do. And also, quite important, the small tsu for the double consonant. And last but not least, the nagyo, nani nune no. And okay, with that, we can stop here for now. See you next time for the continuation of the study of hiragana by playing Super Mario Bros. See you next time!